What's going down? I'm Seven Deuce Van Deuce here, coming to you from the poker capital of the world, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. The old Venetian poker room has officially closed. We're stepping into a brand new era of poker, as today we will be battling at the all-new Venetian poker room in a 2-day tournament with a massive 100,000 guaranteed prize pool. Join me for all the epic hands I play on day one, where the goal is to make it all the way down to the remaining 12.5%. Accomplish that, and we're automatically in the money. And coming back for day two to fight for the big prizes. In this episode, it's all about playing poker with no fear. When the right spots come up, I'm not hesitating. Whether it's a bold bluff or a crucial hand that can mean the difference of a deep run or going bust, I'm going for it. Will playing poker with no fear be what it takes to build a big stack and make it to day two?
We're in the very early levels, 300, 600, 600. Pocket threes, we decided to limp because we don't mind a multi-way pot because we're hoping to hit a set. We have the small blind that completes, the big blind checks their option, and we are going to see a flop of the 5 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, and the ace of spades. Big blind ends up leading here. We're probably behind, but we're going to go ahead and call as it's cheap, maybe hit a set on the turn. Pot is 1,800. After we call, the small blind folds, and we are heads up. We see the queen of spades. The gentleman who led previously in the big blind is a pretty conservative gentleman from the hands we've watched previously. He ends up checking, and we decide right off the gate to get our no fear thought process out there. We do an overbet of 5,000 into an $1,800 pot. We get the fold, bluff through, got him. We're in the small blind with the 5 of hearts and the 3 of hearts. Aggro guy opens the button to 1,500. We're gonna let him know that he's not gonna attack our blinds. We're gonna 3-bet it, make it 5,300. He thinks for a second. He decides that his hand isn't just a button raise, that he's gonna see a flop. He's gonna make the call. We have a pot of 11,800. We're off to a flop. We see the 7 of diamonds, 2 of diamonds, and the queen of spades. I mean, we got 5 high. We got like no equity, but is that gonna stop us? Nah. Let the 7 deuce get loose, baby. We count out 3,300. We make the bet. We get a snap fold. We scoop the 15,100. Let's freaking go. We're in early position, and we decide to open the queen of hearts and the 4 of hearts to 1,600. Part of our no fear process here is we're going to open wider when we feel like we have an edge on the field. This particular gentleman in the small blind is a recreational player seeing tons of flops, so we know his range is very wide. We see the flop of the ace of hearts, 3 of spades, 7 of hearts, flopping a flush draw, which is fantastic for us. We make the bet of 2,100. He counts it out, makes the call, and we now have a pot of 9,000. Boom! We nail the turn, hit these lush with the 2 of hearts. And here's the thing, we could check back for deception sometimes, but we know this recreational player, he hasn't folded an ace since the first day he played the game. So we're gonna go ahead, make a nice bet of 8,500, looking for maximum value in this particular situation. He thinks for a second, but we know exactly what he's gonna do. If he's got the ace, guaranteed, he's making the call. That's what he's going to do. He puts it in. We now have a pot of 26,000. Dealer gives us a river of the ace of spades. Now, some of us are going to be like, oh no, the full house is possible. Man, I don't know if our flush is still good. But think about this. If he had 2 pair on the turn, he would be check raising us every single time. So now he almost always has trips. He's never going to fold it even though there's a flush there. So we act as if we're thinking about the sizing, but we know there's only one size here. We're gonna get them all in the middle, baby, because we want the full double. We want all the chips. We want to gain that momentum and start crushing. And that's what we do. We put it in the middle. Now, you can see in his face and the way he calls, he doesn't love it, but he's never folding. He shows his trips. We scoop a massive pot. Let's freaking go.
I want to take a minute and talk about a personal leak that I have in my game. And what it is sometimes when I win a big pot, much like the one we just did when we make the flush, I tend to be more passive in a key pot that I have in the future. Instead of trying to build an even bigger stack with my passive play, what happens is I make a fold that may not be the right fold, or in a pot where I could really build an even bigger stack, I end up playing it to protect my stack instead of really going for it and playing it for its absolute maximum value. This is dead wrong. The fact is, all the money in tournaments is up top, so you simply can't afford these passive routes when a good situation presents itself. You can't let fear stop you from making the right play. You have to take each hand and play it individually to the best of your ability. You're never going to play a tournament where you're not going to lose a big hand. It's gonna happen eventually. And so you're not out of the tournament, or you don't find yourself on complete fumes, these situations where you're maximizing your value, you can lose that big hand and still be in great shape. Just 2 hands after we double up making the flush, the no fear theme of this vlog is gonna be tested. We're gonna have a big draw and we're gonna have to make a decision. Will we play it passive? Will we go for it? Let's see. But before we do, I just want to ask you a question. Do you ever find yourself having this same leak? You just won a big pot and right out of the gate, you're tested. You're in a scenario where you can be in another big spot. Do you go for it? Or do you sit back on your heels because you just want to protect the chips you just won? Let me know in the comments. Explain to me maybe even a hand where it's happened to you, or are you just a machine and you always go for it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. And are you working on it? And what are you gonna do the next time you're in this situation? Let me know.
We're in the big blind with the Jack of clubs and the 8 of clubs. We have an early position raise to 1700. We call, and the pot is 4600. We see a flop of the 3 of clubs, 9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds. Great flop for us, giving us a flush draw and a gut shot. We check it over. Villain bets 1600 and we call. We now have a pot of 7800. Turn card of the 6 of hearts. Didn't complete our hand yet, but we've actually picked up more outs. I check it over. He makes a bet of 6600. Now, our thought process is we're not just gonna call and pray. We're gonna keep the no fear theme of this vlog, and we're gonna put in a raise and try to take it down right now, knowing that we still have outs. We make it 20,000. Villain doesn't think too long as he starts stacking up all of his chips and just shoves them in the middle. We make the call. We're all in. Pot of 93K. We need to hit the river.
Oh my God! Incredible!
A 6 of clubs, we make the flush, and we scoop a monster pot.
I'm really passionate about growing this channel, so if you could do me a huge favor, hit like, hit subscribe. It would mean the world to me. It'd be so helpful. Thanks. It is time for the random question by 7 Deuce. You hear it at the tables all the time. What's your favorite hand? Well, let's be honest, baby, my favorite hand is the aces. Of course it is. When I look down, I want to see American Airlines, the bullets. However, that's not fun, right? So excluding the big guns, what is your favorite hand and why? Mine is pretty obvious. It's the 7 Deuce. Specifically, 7 Deuce of spades. So let me know in the comments your favorite hand. Why is it your favorite hand? Did you win a monster pot with it? Or you just look down and it's kind of sexy. Let's go.
We are in early position with the Queen of Spades and the 5 of Spades, and we decide to make a raise to 2,500. It's a very wide open, but what the heck? We hit a flush doing this earlier. We've got some chips. Let's go ahead with the edge that we have on this table, try to make a little bit of money with a subpar hand. Folds around to the big blind. He makes the call, and we now have a pot of 6,500. This is the older gentleman that we bluffed earlier, pretty conservative player, so we feel good about our spot, even though we don't have a really big hand. We see a flop of the jack of spades, 5 of hearts, 8 of hearts, and we have flopped bottom pair, nothing too crazy. Our villain checks, we bet 1,500, he makes the call, and our pot is now 9,500. The turn card is the 2 of diamonds. Villain is going to lead, he makes it 1,500, and because he's led twice, I don't think our 5 is really good here, so we decide to turn our hand into a bluff. We've bluffed him before, why not do it again? We make it 4,500. He thinks for a little bit, looks a little bit stressed and perplexed, but ultimately after shuffling some chips, he makes, in our mind, the right decision. He goes ahead, puts it in the muck. We scoop 15,500. Got him!
We are on the color up break. Rate registration is closed. Got about 120K starting with 40K, so pretty cool. Not too bad for a late registration, but now is the crucial time where the pots start getting worth it. Come back to 1,000, 1,500, 1,500. So it's time to battle. Gotta stick the head down, focus, play our A game, bag, make day 2. Let's go!
Blinds are 1,500, 2,500, 2,500. It folds to us on the button with pocket 9s, and we bump it up to 6,500. The small blind was away, so the dealer has taken in their money, and the big blind has decided to fold. The limper makes the call, and we now have a pot of 18,000. Dealer gives us the flop of the 8 of diamonds, 2 of clubs, 7 of clubs, a fantastic flop for us. It's rare that your 9s are going to be an overpair to the board, so we should make a bet to 13,000, as we know it's very likely that the turn or river could bring us over cards, so we want to protect our hand. The villain is shuffling some chips, thinking about it a little bit. They decide to make the call, and we now have a pot of 44,000. Dealer gives us the turn, boom, 9 of clubs, miracle card, we have turned to set. Now, with the villain limping, their range is extremely wide, so we decide to go ahead and control it and check it back. River is the 4 of diamonds, and this looks to be a pretty good card for us, but the villain is not checked to us. In fact, they're thinking, and now they're counting out chips. They bet a little over half pot of 25,500. Now, we have a monster hand. I mean, come on. It's a set. It's the unicorn, the mythical creature. I mean, this doesn't really happen, does it? Well, in this case, it does. But the way the hand plays is kind of gross. I mean, what does he limp, call, check, call, flush on the turn completes, and now they decide to lead the river. I mean, he has absolutely played his hand like a flush, but we have such a big hand. I mean, are we really going to fold? But we're in the tank. I mean, maybe we're slow rolling because we're taking a lot of time, but it almost feels like calling is a gift, but it makes me also feel like such a need. I mean, we're playing poker with no fear. That's our thought process, right? But is it too nitty to fold? I mean, gosh, we really are frustrated here.
The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Your flush is good.
We see the bad news. He had limped the 6 of clubs, 4 of clubs. Our set turned a flush for him. No bueno. We lose a big pot of 95,000.
I want to ask you guys, on that 9-9 hand where I turn the set, but the 9 completes a flush draw, I check it back for control because of that, and the way the hand is played, the guy certainly can have a flush draw, but then he obviously bets on the river pretty thick. I end up making the call. Does anyone find a fold there? Let me know in the comments if I'm overthinking it, or if the call made sense, or does anyone find a way to put it in the muck? I mean, he limps in first position, calls my raise, calls a really thick bet on the flop, goes check, check when I make the set, and the flush draw comes in. Then he leads really heavy on the river. I mean, I underrep my hand when I check it back. Let me know. Love to hear your thoughts. The next hand is absolutely crucial. I built up a decent stack, and now I'm in great position to make a deep run, get into the money, and qualify for day 2. Here's where the test comes. I can make a passive fold on the flop, play it safe, and protect my stack. Or I can embrace the theme of this vlog, playing poker with no fear, and when I see a good spot, go for it. Now the question is, will I take the chance or will I play it safe? But first, here's a clip done by Doug Polk, which is literally one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard in poker. Trust me, you're gonna wanna keep this in mind when you find yourself in one of those high pressure moments.
The number one biggest mistake people make playing poker is that they're afraid. And it's that simple. And what I learned when I was playing small stakes full ring was I wasn't going to be afraid anymore. I was not going to be afraid to just go for it, to run bluffs, to make big calls, to try and play the way that I believe was supposed to be played correctly. I learned that all of those years set mining, I wasn't learning, I wasn't improving. I told myself all kinds of excuses as to why it was okay. They never bluff. I'm getting all this rake back. I run the worst. I always run my kings and aces. Well, yeah, probably because I'm never 4-bet bluffing and my 4-bet range is just kings and aces. Against me, then people were exploiting me. What I learned was you have to play correctly, and you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of having to put in the work to become good. You can't be afraid of this might be the only moment in your entire life where you get a big spot in a major tournament. And if you're wrong, it's over. You have to live with that, and you have to be okay taking that spot, because that's how you become great. That's how you play poker at the absolute pinnacle. By taking those moments and capitalizing on them, that's how you become someone in the world of poker. And you might just not agree with me, and you might want to go back to playing your local game or your next tournament and say, Doug's wrong, I'm always going to fold. But I want you to remember next time you always fold what I said and why you are where you are.
We're in the big blind, late position raise, and we complete the big blind with the king of hearts, 6 of hearts. We see a flop of the 5 of clubs, 5 of spades, and a 4 of spades. We check it over, and our villain makes it 12K to go. Now we have a backdoor straight draw in the overcard, and with the paired board, I believe this is a great candidate to make a check raise. So we think about it for a second. We do decide to make the raise, just kind of thinking about our sizing here, and we go ahead and make it 35,000. Now this gentleman is actually a really good friend of mine, Roberto, and in poker, even though you play with friends, you still got to battle. Now he's a senior, and the only reason I bring that up is because he's not your typical senior. He is very aggressive, he makes big bets, and he's really sticky and hard to get him to fold. And with that being said, he does put in the call, and we now have a pot of 100,000. We have the turn of the 8 of spades. Really have to think about our situation here. As we now have a gut shot, we still have the over, paired board, so we decide to go ahead and put it all in. Dealer counts out our all-in and announces 113,000. We're now looking at a pot of 213,000, and this one is really crucial because we're near the money. If we take this pot down, we're sitting great. If we do not take this pot down, we're gonna head on home for the evening and call it a night. I do love the shove. Of course, there is a flush draw available, but I don't believe that's the hand he has. I believe he either has a ace high, some type of middling pair, but he undoubtedly does have the best hand here pretty much all of the time. He does end up putting it in the muck. We rake a huge pot. Got him!
Huh? We're on break. We're coming back to level 16, 3K, 6K, 6K. 13 remain, 11 make the money. It's crunch time, baby. Every single hand, super important. Every decision, extremely crucial. If you get to 11, you bag, you make day 2, you're in the money. And hey, this is a pretty serious tournament. We're talking 100K guarantee. So it's gonna be a great first prize, but you gotta make day 2. So let's get in there. Let's start snapping some necks, cashing some checks. 7 deuce, baby. One time. With board check. We start with 86, 13 remain, 11 are going to make it. Time to get back from break. Let's freaking go. We're gonna play the biggest and most important all-in so far in this tournament. But real quick, before we get to the hand, I just want to thank my 2 sponsors. Number 1, standardbacking.com. If you're looking for live or online backing, they've been in business since 2008. Log on to standardbacking.com, fill out the form, and see if you qualify for backing. And the second sponsor is cncpoker.com, the absolute in my opinion, best coaching platform on the planet. I mean, they have guys like Ben Heath, bracelet winner, Triton winner. They have guys like Jans Arens. They even have World Series of Poker Player of the Year, Ian Matakis, many more. Think about it. This platform is professionals being coached by the best players in the world. So if you're currently professional and you want to reach that top echelon to be one of the best, log on to cncpoker.com, check it out, and get the best coaching today. Now, let's get into that hand.
Oh.
You stay all in?
I did.
Alright, here we go. Ace, queen, ace, queen.
Man, that sucks!
Jordan fades back, swoosh, and that's the game! Nothing further, Your Honor.
Good news, we made day 2. Bagged 522,000, which that's right, baby. Let's go. 7 deuce with the chip lead. On time.
What's going down? Oh no, did they let the 7 deuce get loose? You know it, baby. Last 3 tournaments was the walk of shame. Head to the car, bubbling, busting, but not today. It's the walk of fame, baby. Bag the chip lead. 522K, coming back to day 2. Venetian, 100K, lots up top. Let's freaking go.